Today's topic is, do firearms instruction and good citizenship go hand in hand? What motivates someone to want to become a firearms instructor? What does it mean to be a good citizen? You'll learn that firearms instruction is one way to fulfill one's obligations as a good citizen. You'll also learn that volunteerism and community service are the common threads underlying good citizenship. Today I'm talking with Gary Larkin. Gary is the president of Armed Defense Training Association, a nonprofit gun club located near Seattle, Washington. Thanks for joining us today, Gary.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Gary is also an ADTA firearms instructor and a founding member of ADTA's Everett chapter. Gary is active in his church and heads up their security team. He has served as chaplain for a local American Legion chapter. Gary is a Navy veteran and has two sons who attended Annapolis and currently serve in active duty. Here's a brief overview of Armed Defense Training Association. ADTA is a nonprofit gun club with about 100 members, now in its 12th year. It's a community service organization run by volunteers. ADTA trains their own RSOs and instructors using a curriculum adapted from NRA courses. And I'm Ed Street. I'm also an ADTA firearms instructor and one of its founders. I've known Gary for a number of years and for some time have wanted to interview him because of his strong views on the importance of good citizenship as the basis for preserving the American way of life. So when we were preparing for this interview, you read me a quote from the 16th century priest Martin Luther. Would you like to read that for us now?
Sure. Again, Martin Luther, he said, "If I profess with the loudest voice and clearest exposition every portion of truth of God, except that little point which the world and the devil are at that moment attacking, I am not professing Christ, however boldly I may be professing him. Where the battle rages, there the loyalty of the soldier is proved, and to be steady on all battlefields besides that point is mere flight and disgrace if he flinches at that point." So that how that relates and why it's important to me is, right now there's a lot of talk about gun control and a lot of questions around the Constitution, and so I think as a firearms instructor, we need to use our voice and respectfully, but speak truth of how our Second Amendment rights are important. And if we remain silent, then we are in fact, even we may profess other things, good things, if we're not speaking the truth on those very points that are currently being attacked against our Constitution, then we are mere flight into disgrace, because we are not attacking, or we're not defending the point that's being attacked. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense in the context of what's going on nowadays. So I know that you have very strong views about citizenship. Can you tell me what you think it means to be a good citizen?
Yeah, to be a good citizen means that you have to be willing to be involved. Our founding fathers said that responsible citizen participation was a crucial element of our representative republic to survive. It needs to have people getting involved. It means that we need to share ideas, have respectful but energetic debates, and if we're going to move forward, it can't just be elite people just leading things and sort of sheep just following. It really needs to be people getting involved and knowing your neighbors and being involved in the problems that a community may face. So yeah, being a good citizen means participating.
So when you and I were in school, we took classes called civics. This taught us how the Constitution defines American government and the Bill of Rights defines our freedoms. So why do you think this is no longer being taught in the schools?
Well, I think that there is less emphasis on how to think, but more of agenda on what to think. And I think when we were learning civics and learning how government works and learning more about how the country was founded, it caused people to think for themselves and be able to work through problems using their own reason. I think now it's there's a little bit of agenda to tell people how to think, um, or what to think, I should say, and with an agenda behind it. Um, and so I think that's part of the reason why civics has been taken out and it's more called social studies or other things rather than learning about our government and how it works.
Yeah, it's unfortunate in my view. I think you agree with that too.
Yeah.
So the idea of citizenship includes both duties and entitlements. Why do you think Americans are so focused nowadays on entitlements?
Yeah, I think that there's less emphasis now on personal responsibility. Um, there certainly has been social injustice done in the past, um, but I think that focus on victimization has made us uh, less accountable to personal responsibility, and I think that attitude is spilled over into our schools and our colleges, and and I think even parenting has affected that as well. Um, so I think the idea of citizenship should instill in us a sense of duty um, and I think John F. Kennedy is one that said, "Think not what you can do for what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." That's been lost a little bit. It's now about under the guise of social justice. It it's more about what do I get, even if I haven't earned it, or what do I get because of injustice that happened 200, 300 years ago. And that's too bad because I think for our country to survive and to continue to advance, we need to work on um, fair treatment for of all, and but also what we can do to help our communities.
You've told me that good citizenship means being involved in your community. Do you think becoming a firearms instructor helps fulfill this obligation?
I do. You think of when our country was founded, there's a thing called a Minuteman, and it was basically a premise that our founding fathers had um, that it was the community that protected itself, whether it be from a foreign invasion or a tyrannical government. That anyone who was of age and able to fight, to preserve our freedoms and liberties, and to ensure our way of life, that we all had a stake in and protecting our government. It wasn't just our military, it wasn't just our police force, but it was a partnership with our neighbors that helped do that. And so I think a firearms instructor helps fulfill that obligation by helping training those in our community on responsible firearm ownership and how to use the firearm in a way that helps ensure our freedoms and liberties. And so, yeah, community involvement and equipping our community is very important as a good citizen.
You and I are both active in our gun club, ADTA, which is focused on providing firearms training. ADTA makes it a rule not to discuss politics at our events. However, many people seem to conflate civics with politics, and this makes them reluctant to talk about civics related topics, such as how the Second Amendment defends our First Amendment rights. So, what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think some have made like the Second Amendment into a partisan argument, but it's really not. It's really a Bill of Right in our Constitution, and just like unlawful search and seizures or Fourth Amendment. But we should be able to talk about those things and not be considered partisan. Um, so, what some people consider politics they get confused with just debating a civic type thing in our Constitution. So, um, so though we don't mention parties, we don't, um, you know, talk about certain candidates. So we keep it neutral that way. But we are very pro Second Amendment, and we are unapologetically for that.
So do you think there's any way to include civics in our gun club training curriculum?
Yeah, certainly. Uh, there's just talking about the importance, especially for new shooters who may be intimidated by a firearm, but just the healthy conversation that it is absolutely okay to own a firearm and protect your home and protect your country, and the rights that we have instilled in the Bill of Rights, whether it's Fourth Amendment, search and seizures, to freedom of speech, First Amendment, or Second Amendment. We should be able to be pro Constitution and still hold a neutral conversation about parties or candidates.
So this would become important with the idea of providing a context, kind of what we're doing. So when we're teaching them the how do you do it, but this is more the why we're doing this.
Exactly,
Yeah.
the why and the importance of why we're doing it.
Yeah. So the theme of our discussion has been, do firearms instruction and good citizenship go hand in hand? Do you have any final thoughts about the relationship between those two?
I do. Think of communities that we've had, just even 50 years ago. A neighbor would be building a barn, and neighbors from all around would come over and help raise the barn for that neighbor, and that's sort of this farm instruction in the community, in the local community, the same way. We have people who are part of the community, and we can donate some time to help them in their skill of defending themselves. And who knows, maybe you're the one that needs help someday, and someone that you've trained came to your aid, and when you're being robbed or something. So I think being a good citizen just means being involved in the community, and I think the more good citizens that we have that know firearm skills and know how to safely handle them and know how to use them, it's only a good thing.
So Gary, I want to thank you for participating in this discussion. I found it to be a real pleasure to talk with you and hear what you have to say.
Yeah, it's a pleasure as always, Ed. Thank you.